The Wolves in the Walls, Part 2. They tried sleeping in the shed, but it smelled too much of lawnmowers and of the fertilizer used for the rhubarb. So they crept up the back steps, through the back door, into the back hall, and into the walls. "We must be very quiet," said Lucy. But the wolves were making such a noise that no one could have heard them anyway. The family crept through the walls of the house, peeking out through the eye-holes of paintings and through the cracks of things. There were wolves watching television and eating popcorn. They had turned the television up as loud as it would go, and they had spilled popcorn all over the floor, where it stuck to the unfinished slices of toast and jam. There were wolves dashing down up the stairs. There were wolves sliding down the banisters. Some of the wolves had put on the family's nicest clothes, and they had made big holes in the back of them for their tails. The family went to sleep in the walls. In the middle of the night, something woke them up. The wolves were having a party. They were singing and dancing and telling jokes. One of the wolves was playing her brother's video game, and he was beating all the high scores. Two of the youngest of the pack of wolves had got into the pots of Lucy's mother's homemade jam and were eating it straight from the pot, smearing it onto the walls. The biggest, fattest wolf of all was playing an old wolf melody on Lucy's father's second-best tuba. "My jam! My walls!" said Lucy's mother. "My video game high scores!" said Lucy's brother. "My second-best tuba!" said Lucy's father. "Right! I've had enough!" said Lucy. There wasn't much in the space between the walls, just an old broken chair. Lucy picked up the chair leg. "You know, I've had just about as much as I can take of those wolves too," said her father, and her mother, and her brother. Each of the family picked up a broken chair leg. "Ready?" said her mother. "Ready," said everybody else. And... "Ah!" howled the wolves. "The people have come out of the walls!" "And when the people come out of the walls," shouted the biggest, fattest wolf, flinging aside the tuba, "it's all over!" Round and around they ran, gathering up the most treasured possessions. "Flee!" they shouted. "Flee, flee, flee! For once the people come out of the walls, it's all over!" Down the stairs went the wolves, scurrying and hurrying and tumbling over each other in their hurry to get out of the house and get away. "Whose idea was this anyway?" moaned one of the wolves. And the wolves ran and they ran and they ran and they ran and they didn't stop running until they got somewhere where there would never be any people in the walls who would come out in the middle of the night whooping and singing people songs and brandishing chair legs. And whether they went to the Arctic or the desert or outer space or somewhere else entirely, nobody knows. But from that day to this, those wolves have never been seen again. It took several days of cleaning up to make the house look anything like it did before the wolves came out of the walls. But eventually, everything was back to the way it had been before, except for Lucy's father's second-best tuba, which had sustained severe damage. So Lucy's father sold his second-best tuba and bought a sousaphone instead, which he had always wanted. and everything went back to normal. Until Lucy noticed something funny. She heard rustling and scratching and squeezings and creakings in the old house. And then one night, she heard a noise that sounds exactly like an elephant trying not to sneeze. She went and got her pig puppet. "Do you think I should tell the rest of them," she said, "that we have elephants living in the walls of our house?" "I'm sure they'll find out soon enough," said the pig puppet to Lucy. And they did.